Hey, Mike. What time is it, Mike?
It's time to talk, Curtis.
Leadership trait talk time.
Talking straight about leadership traits.
That's what we do. We kind of mess up every now and then, but hey, it's okay. It's all right. Part 3.
So we're on
All
part
right.
3 of our Steve Dye interview.
Yep.
And again, I hope everybody's getting as much out of it as we did.
We got so much, just tons of notes.
Yeah, it's a really good guy too. So
Lots of applicable leadership traits.
absolutely. So if you like what you hear, this is a multi-part series. Please go back and hear the other 2 if you
Listen
missed
to it
those.
on.
And hope you enjoy it.
Thanks.
I really haven't read a lot on leadership. I've just watched over the years what I thought good leaders exhibited, and then I've also equally seen what I thought were bad leadership traits. But
Right.
guys, I really think, regardless of religion, pretty much every religion's golden rule is the same: treat others as you want to be treated, make
Right.
the world a better place. And so, when I finally lay my head down, I want to know that I didn't just do my job. I didn't just process the work. I want to feel like I made a difference. And I think a big part of making a difference is how you make people feel. And that starts internally, and that spreads externally. So I think that's, kind of getting back to the national scene. I think that's why it's so disappointing, because not only are we seeing some poor leadership in our country at times, but I think we're having a lot of really good people that aren't stepping up to go into those positions because they don't want the scrutiny. They don't want the scrutiny for their families.
Sure.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But it's also sad to me that more of our great leaders aren't saying, hey, I want to go to the next level. And I think that we're going to have to start making having some tough discussions. I can tell you, I'm plain spoken. When I would go into a community leaders meeting or a community meeting, let's be honest, but let's be respectful, and let's not be insightful. The things that I see happening and said towards police officers is quite frankly nauseating at times.
Yeah.
Because these are the very men and women that you better hope come quickly when you call.
Right.
And guys, I want to tell you, after Ferguson, I taught a Ferguson case study class back in 2014 in that time period. And I told the chiefs the same thing that I tell my community. I tell my community all the time, you better support your police and your police leaders, because if you don't, you're only going to have more incidents of misconduct, because we're losing a lot of good young men and women that would have been great police officers that are choosing to be engineers. They're choosing to go into business because they don't want to have that for them and their families. So guess what's going to happen? You're going to have departments that are still going to be able to hire some really good officers, but overall the pool of blue chip applicants is going to shrink. And at some point in time, some departments will probably have to lower their standards to hire enough officers. And we may not always get the men and women out there that we want. Well, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of misconduct. And guess what? Society, you only have yourselves to blame. You need to support your police officers so we can attract the best and brightest to do this difficult job.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a tough job. They have to put their lives on the line.
Oh, it's
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
Well, you said you don't read a lot of leadership books, but I'll tell you, I've got a lot of stuff here that I could give you the chapters if you're going to write it. Because it's perfect.
We can go to the book that says what you just said, Steve.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, when I was a chief, I was working 80 hours a week, and I didn't have a lot of time to read. But seriously, guys, I think sometimes we make leadership way too complicated. It's not. It's really not. Have a sound, in my case, Christian-based values, but whatever your beliefs may be, have a good spiritual value base.
Right.
Work hard every day to model and exhibit the desired behavior. Treat others as you want to be treated. Care for them, know who they are, and care about their needs. And then be very forthright with those you serve externally to help understand what they need and how we can treat them in the best way possible. We've got to be responsive as leaders. We've got to be responsive. In my case, both externally to my citizens and internally to my employees. I've got to care for their needs. And it really is a holistic approach. We're doing a lot better job with mental health in our community when we're out dealing with our citizens, but we're also doing a much better job maintaining and nurturing and watching over the mental health of our police officers. So yeah, it's just, I think it's just so frustrating for us right now, because I think a lot of us, like the three of us, are sitting back and looking at what's happening and just knowing it doesn't have to be this way. And quite frankly, there's a lot of people out there with very loud voices, but they're in the extreme minority, and they're agenda driven, whether it's financially driven or self-promoting themselves. They're not speaking for the greater good of this country. The greater good of this country are good, solid people who go to work every day and do a great job contributing to our economy and our society. So, the other thing that I continuously would tell my officers is always remember, most people are really good people who support you. You can tend to lose sight of that if you watch the news too much.
Right.
So don't watch the news a lot.
Right.
I mean, hey,
Social media and the news.
Turn it off.
Hey,
Yeah.
I had a Chief Sesney told me a great story the other day, and I wanted to use this person as our PR manager, but apparently there was someone in our city that had been to protest in some other cities around us, and they made the remark that they really couldn't get anybody to show up to a protest in Grand Prairie because apparently, quote unquote, the Grand Prairie police have a cult following. And I said, hey, man, that's great PR. But I think what it is, guys, it's not anything I'm saying on the news. It's not what I'm posting on my website. It's what we've talked about. Every interaction, every day, make it thoughtful and respectful. And then over time, cumulatively, you've got that equity in the bank and that perception that you do honestly care about the people that you serve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Building, relationships, build trust.
Right.
Trust leads to understanding. And then when that conflict comes, if you've built the relationship, you at least can hear each other out, because you have
Right. Yeah.
right. And you have the respect for each other to do that. So
hey, Mike, you're right. So Mike, when you have a disagreement with a family member, you work it out because you talk and you listen and you love each other, right?
Right. Because you have a relationship. Exactly.
Amen.
Exactly.
Amen. You're spot on. Yeah. Spot on. So it's, again, that's why I say it's not really that complicated, but it does take a lot of effort.
Right.
And I think that's why people fall short. And again, I think everybody's got a mobile device in their hands, and we're tuning into social media. And I think some of our society have no longer taken the approach to be an independent thinker. They want to be spoon-fed information, and they're naive and lazy enough to just believe what they see and hear. And I think that's very unfortunate. I've done some work with the Dallas Cowboys in the last few years, and I was so impressed by how the players listened. They asked great questions. They took notes. They really wanted to know what my experience was and what I had to say. And then guess what? I listened to them to find out how we can get better. So it was a very rewarding experience, because here's elite athletes that are high paid, and they could have just gone home and watched TV and been lazy or got on their phone, but no, they wanted to hear about policing and how we can work better together. And I think if everyone had that collegial spirit, we wouldn't be seeing what we're seeing on the news. And by the grace of God, our region is probably a little bit better than some regions of the country. But, if you look what's happening in the Northwest and some other areas, it's very troubling, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I really like this. I like what you said about having, positive morale leads to productivity, because that's so true. If a team that knows the direction we're going, they have good energy behind it, they can be some of the most productive folks. I mean, Curtis was talking about a team today, about how they had really good energy, went in to solve a problem, and then just, ended up with a great solution.
Blow it out of the water.
Yeah. So, I mean, it all these things tie, it's not just
Amen.
Community. It's not just policing. It's not just, in the corporate world, it's parenting, it's spousing, it's, any relationships. And so it's just applying some of the basic blocking and tackling, and we can do so much better as a society.
when I was a young officer, I heard a lot about organizational values and philosophies, but I just kind of went out and did the job the best I knew how, and kind of listening to our senior officers who had trained me. But when I became chief, because Mike, you hit on a very, very valuable point. Yes, we established our values. We very much talk about those, but then I went 2 steps further. How do we strategically, what are the actions that we actually display and take every day to exhibit the values?
Right.
And what is our purpose? What is our why? You know,
Yeah.
I really spent a lot of time talking to the organization about, these are our values. Here's how we're going to get the 3-part strategy to achieve these values. But here's why we're doing it.
Right.
And what I found is, to your point, when people understand the why, but more importantly, when they believe in the why, then they will go out and they will be very hardworking, very positive-minded employees. I think another aspect that's often overlooked is accountability. You know, I always try to use discipline as a positive experience, because quite frankly, most times when policies are violated, they're actually good people who just made a mistake.
Right.
If they don't meet the values of the organization, then we need to cut them from the herd. But that's 99% of your discipline. You're not going to terminate an employee. So how do we help them understand, well, how they fell short? I wanted them to leave that office being disappointed in themselves, but also knowing that I still believed in them, that, hey, you made a mistake, but you're still a great person. So I think sometimes we also fail in that when we're holding people accountable, we either get emotionally angry in that process, or we give up on the employee, or we just write them off that they're always going to be a mediocre performer. And I think as leaders, we need to help them understand that they can be better and how they can be better. And then for all of the organization, we've all got to believe in what we're doing, because if we're not pulling in the same direction, then that fragmentation is exposed out into the community.
Yeah. The why.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
So Steve, yeah, you've never read the book Start With Why, I'm sure. But you just explained the concepts of why it's important to start with the why.
We need to get you on a panel with some of these guys. So this is great. This is really good, Steve. Well, we do appreciate your time. This is really good. I think we've got a lot of good information to think about. I think we all, just as citizens, I think we should all take these lessons.
Absolutely. How can we be better citizens?
Yeah, absolutely.
How can we be better leaders?
Well, I want to thank you all for having me on, but more importantly, thank you for what you're doing. You're making a difference. Spreading good tenets of leadership is so important. And I'll tell you, I'm available anytime. I just appreciate the opportunity. And I'll leave you with this. I was asked as chief many, many times, what can we do, chief, to help your department, to support your officers? I said, it's very simple. When you see a police officer, just walk over to them and say, thank you for your service. That will go miles with them. They will appreciate it. It does mean something to them just to know that you care about them and that you appreciate their service. So God bless you guys, and thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
And I will apply that forward. I will take that forward. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Good guidance.
Thank you so much for being with us.
And we'll be reaching out to you later for follow-on stuff, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks very much.
Good to see you.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
You
bye-bye.
too. Bye-bye.
That's the final version, and we really hope you enjoyed it. Steve is what a great leader. What great philosophy.
What great insight.
I think
we hasn't read very many leadership books.
Like I said, we got his chapters right here. I can lay them out.
We can point him to the books that he was living, right? That he's really demonstrating the behaviors, that he's just living the values.
That's right. Start with
leadership.
Why. Yes. Simon Sinek, and
just phenomenal.
Yeah. So
appreciative to him for being with us.
Absolutely. And we hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, we know you're going to get something out of this series.
Yeah.
Go back and listen to previous versions.
Please.
If you didn't hear it.
There's multiple versions, and we'll have them out on the platforms, YouTube, popular podcast platforms. Yeah. Tell your friends. Let others know about this. Subscribe. Give us feedback. We're always interested in what you think.
Yeah.
And we do appreciate you.
We appreciate you joining us.
And this is the final podcast of the year.
That's it. Season 2 in the books.
Right. We went through all the way through COVID and
Yes,
everything else
we
that happened
made
here in
it through.
2020. We made it through.
2020 is over. Thank heavens.
So
Yes.
just
Thanks for being with us from season 2.
we really did. We've had a good time doing this. We've had some great guests.
Great guests.
I've learned more, I think, in this.
That's what we love doing about
Yeah,
this,
that's-
right?
you
Our
learn so much
leadership
of it.
improves by listening to and applying what we're hearing.
Absolutely.
Just-
So thank you for tuning in and being part of
Appreciate
sharing this time with us. We do appreciate your time. And
Stay
again,
tuned for season 3, right?
Yeah.
2021, season
Yeah,
3.
looking forward to it. And if you got ideas, send them our way. We're interested in
absolutely
anything you've
open.
got.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
Have a good
everyone.
Happy New Year to everybody.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Hey, Mike, what time is it, Mike?
It's time to talk, Curtis.
Talking straight about leadership
Traits.
You're going to text it?
That's how we do it every time.
Is it not so ginormous?
Leadership
Trait Talk time. That was easy.
He's the one that's got to edit it.
No. Let's see, that's 4 times 6, 24 hours. Ah, you'd
You
think
did it.
after 100 times of doing this,